Hi, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties. When you're working on multiple YouTube channels, it's kind of hectic here. So, doing something different here is I'm going to interview somebody who's planning on hiking the AT here in the near future. And I came across this individual as I was going through people's new announcements videos that were out there, and I could tell immediately that this person was from my home state of West Virginia, where I currently reside, also because he referred to West Virginia as West by God, Virginia. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Jim Ellison. And Jim, if you don't mind, tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll go in a little bit deeper.
The audio's double looping. I'm hearing you three times.
Oh, well, don't know what we're going to do about that. Oh, because you got YouTube up. Close down YouTube.
Gotcha. There we go. All right. Now we're good to go. Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties. Like you said, this is all new to every one of us. Once again, like you were saying, my name's Jim. I'm born and raised here in West by God, Virginia. I live in Fayette County, about 5-6 minutes or so away from the New River Gorge Bridge. So the National Forest is right in my backyard. I'm kind of new to this Appalachian Trail 2026 hiking thing. I've been wanting to do it for a couple of years, but from there, and I am the founder of Take a Hike with Jim's YouTube page.
So, Jim, what made you want to actually go out there and hike the AT? I mean, what got you interested into it, and then what's making you take the leap to do it this year?
Well, it's started. I will say, Wolfie, about 15 years ago or so. I was sitting at a friend of mine's table. We was getting ready to have something to eat or whatever, and he's a former Navy SEAL, and I'm former U.S. Army. So we're sitting there having a conversation about hiking and all these things, and I said, man, it'd be amazing if they just had a trail that where you could just go out for weeks or months at a time and just hike and camp and different things. He goes, you don't know about the Appalachian Trail. And I was like, what's the Appalachian Trail? And so he started to tell me about it. Well, I was hooked, and I wanted to do it from day one, and I just never had the time. So we'll fast forward that to about 3 years ago. Um, about 3 years ago at that time, my sister, she was 48. I would have been 40, getting ready to be 41. And she suddenly passed away with a massive heart attack. No signs, no symptoms, no warnings. And me and her was extremely close. And so going through the grieving process, I got back out in the woods. Got hiking and got doing some different things, and it really helped pull me through. And I thought to myself, I wonder if that Appalachian Trail is still a thing. I wonder if people still are doing that. Like it goes away, right? Because I didn't know much about it. And so I looked into it, and I was like, it's time. It's time to start planning. It's time to start doing this. So I tuned into YouTube. I found a gentleman by the name of Fortune. I started watching Fortune. And then I found Taylor, New Hampshire. I found Dixie. I found all these hikers. And I found out that I wasn't the only one that kind of had the idea or used the trail for different things, like, the grieving process and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it came from, and that's kind of how I got to where I was at. I was going to use it for the grieving process and stuff like that, and then it just turned into something so much more. It turned into just an obsession with me, and this is something I'm very much looking forward to doing.
So, what have you done so far to prepare yourself? Well, first of all, let's back up. You're going to start sometime in March, right?
So, yes, so I leave here in West by God. I had to get a train because I didn't have anybody drop me off or any of that kind of stuff. So I had to get a train. So I'm leaving Thurman, actually, which is kind of cool. On my page, I have a video of the ghost town of Thurman. So I'm leaving Thurman March the 8th. I arrive in Gainesville March the 9th. staying at Amicalola Falls Resort the 9th, and I'm actually stepping out on my late sister's birthday, March 10th, in 2026.
Yeah, I've actually thought about doing that myself, is going to Charleston and catching the Amtrak, but it's going to take you almost a day to get there, isn't it?
Yes, it's going to go from actually a little bit over. I leave at 7 o'clock, 7:26 the morning of the 8th, and I do not get to Gainesville until like almost noon the 9th.
Hmm. So I know some people down there, and I'll see what I can do to hook you up for maybe some support if they're available.
I appreciate that. But yeah, so that's how I'm getting down there. And it was just logistically going to be easier. I mean, because like you said, the Amtrak thing about taking a train, it's $115 one way. So to me, that was going to be a lot cheaper than having to have somebody drive me down there, pay for gas, pay for their food, pay for 2 sets of rooms, pay for their gas back, which I wasn't going to be part of. You know, so $115 for one way wasn't nothing. Wasn't nothing at all. So in preparing, because I think that was the other part of the question. So what am I doing kind of in preparing? I've just been out walking a lot, man. Just walking a lot of trails. I was supposed to actually do this 3 years ago. I ran into some medical issues, so I couldn't do it. So this last year, 2025, I was supposed to be out on trail. And like 3 weeks before I was supposed to step out on trail, hadn't made the announcement video or nothing like that. Because I was going to do the announcement video like a few days before and then step out on trail, because I was still kind of feeling kind of wonky. My heart actually stopped. I had to be taken to the VA. They shocked me, or not shocked me, but they took me to VA, got me on some medications and stuff that got my heart back into rhythm and all that stuff. So in saying that, that was going to be a no-go. They found out they had me on the wrong blood pressure medication. I was allergic to it. So they got that all changed up and got me taken care of. So going from there. So for preparation, just do a lot of hiking. I go into the New River Gorge quite a bit. I wish we had some higher elevation trails down here where I'm at, up north of us towards Seneca and Blackwater Falls and all y'all in Seneca Valley, and there's all kind of like better elevation that I feel is closer to what the trail's actually going to be. The highest elevation I got down here is 1,400 feet and some change at Grandview Park. But so I'm saying just a lot of walking, just a lot of hiking. I started out this journey at 305 pounds, Frank. 305 pounds. I'm down to 271.
So I don't know if you know it, but when I started my hiking journey, I was at 309.
Wow, really?
And right now I'm about maintaining between 180 and 185.
See, that's where I want to be. Frank, no offense, I want to be you. I want to be about 180, 185, 190, you know. So, I haven't been that small for a long time.
so I'm going to give you some unsolicited, I wouldn't say advice, but this is going to be unsolicited advertisement, right? So I'm highly involved, and it was up on the screen until just a while ago. I'm highly involved in the Allegheny Trail, and which is West Virginia's longest hiking trail of 311 miles. So when you're ready to start training overnights, I recommend you head over east a little bit from you. So you're in Fayette County, so so it's over in the White Sulphur Springs area, which is what, like an hour and a half from you, maybe?
It's 80 from here to Cass Railroad to where it's at is about 86 miles.
Okay, so that's so if you want to see nature, the Cass area is great. If you want to see real beauty, I would go down to the southern end of the Allegheny Trail, because the Allegheny Trail actually touches the AT. And it meets on top of Peters Mountain. But the Cass Railroad to Durban is only 18 miles long. And if you want to do that in a couple overnights, that would be really good. And there's some big changes in elevation there too, because you have to hike out of the Greenbrier River Valley up over out of Cass. You go around Greenbanks and you get to see the world's largest steerable radio telescope. It's a beauty to behold. And you cruise on all the way into Durban. and then you can get resupplied at Durban or get picked up at Durban and shuttled back to Cass. I almost guarantee you, if you ask somebody in one of the restaurants there, they'll give you a ride back to Cass because it's only like 20. You hike for 2 days and it's a 20-minute drive for everybody, right? So,
Well, they get to go. And if you know, you know. We get to go around the bend.
yeah, around the bend, yeah. So yeah, it's a beautiful trail. I mean, it doesn't. The highest point on it is God Near, and I think it's at 4480 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's just, I guess if you're hiking north, it'd be north of Durban. It's that mountain that go from Durban there. But it definitely I would do your overnights there. I mean, you've already been to Babcock State Park and a lot of those other state parks from what I've been watching your videos, right?
Yeah.
So you could go back there.
Time.
But if you want elevation change and some nice hiking, I would definitely check out the Allegheny Trail.
Because see, when I was thinking about my shakedown hikes that I was going to do, I was originally going to go down to the Grayson Highlands. I was going to go down down there and do some shakedowns and stuff, but as we know, because of Hurricane Helene and everything has changed, I think that the trails and they're still closed for camping down there right now. So I wasn't going to be able to do that. So then I have a buddy that lives up around your area, and he said, well, we could always go to Harper's Ferry and go up there and do some shakedown, a couple of hikes and everything. I hadn't really thought about going to the Allegheny overnight. That may be something I look at.
So my thoughts there is it's a more backcountry trail, so I think you get a better shakedown, right? Mm-hmm. It's more isolated, which you're being in March, you're going to be hiking with other people, but you'll be out there on your own to test your equipment. But the other thing, I guess, is it's closer. But for me, and I say this, but I'm going to restart the AT this year, so take this with a grain of salt. I like to hike. I don't want to re-hike something, right?
Right.
So I don't want to go do a shakedown on the AT. I want to go do a shakedown somewhere else similar to the AT that has the same elevation changes, and you the only difference between, well, it's not the only difference. One of the major differences or similarities, I guess you could call it that way, is if you're hiking in the White Sulphur Springs in that section of trail, and on the backcountry section, is the AT is on one ridge, and the Allegheny Trail is on the opposite ridge of the valley, and they parallel each other for about 90 some miles.
Yes, it'd be very, very close. So I might actually do it. Like I said, I hadn't looked into it, into that much of a detail. There's another trail.
It's on Far Out, and it's a cheap buy.
Yeah, there's another trail down that way that I've been wanting to walk anyway. So I might walk that up and come back down the other, which is the Greenbrier Valley River Trail.
Oh yeah, well actually the Allegheny Trail and the Greenbrier River Trail actually follows each other as you're coming out of Cass. It follows each other for 10 or 12 miles, and then the Allegheny Trail takes. So the Allegheny Trail, we don't like flat land. We're sort of like the AT, but we need to we try to stay off the roads as much as possible, even though we do have some long road walks. So we come down out of Cass, heading towards Marlington, and then you get maybe 10, 12 miles outside of Cass, and then we hang a left and go up the mountain. And you go up the mountain, you walk this backcountry road, and then you hit this forest road, and this forest road is the steepest road I've ever walked in my life. I never thought it would end. But once you go up it, you get into Seneca State Park. Right. And that part of it is beautiful. You're at the top of the mountain. There's an old CCC shelter that was built up there that you could stay in if you want. It's open on three sides, but it's got a fireplace, and it does have shelter, and it's beautiful. And then not very far after that, you go past that fire tower that they've converted into a cabin that you can rent. But I guess there's a lottery that on January 1st, everybody goes and signs up, and it's a lottery when it's assigned that you can get the cabin.
Yeah, they
But
that I actually looked into that cabin last year in that lottery system, and like statistically, you have a better chance to get hit in the head by an acorn with a squirrel.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many numbers.
so I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to let you talk for a while and put you back on camera. But let's talk about gear, and you kind of describe the kind of the you can start with either describe the gear that you bought for the trail, or however you want to do it.
Like a lot of us that go through and we're starting to prepare, and where I feel a lot of us, Wolfie, I think that a lot of us go through when we start preparing for the Appalachian Trail, we just go out there and start buying stuff that we see on videos. And we see, well, this one works and that one works and this works. And so we go out and start spending money. And then, like with me, I was so excited about it that I went out and I just started buying things. The very first mistake I made was the very first piece of equipment I bought was, guess what? My backpack. Right? My actual pack. I bought my pack. My original pack was a Mystery Ranch 65 liter Brigadier. And it's a nice pack. It's a great pack. Do not get me wrong. There was a lot of things I liked about it. I couldn't get the shoulder straps right and everything. And then as I started buying gear, I realized that it was too big of a pack for what I needed, and I wasn't getting the shoulder straps right.
So let me stop you. Did you do it because Mystery Ranch is making the military packs now, and you're former military?
That's exactly why I did it. That's exactly why I did it. It was like an impulse thing, and I really liked it. And I did some research, and I watched a bunch of review videos on it, and I was like, this is the pack for me, right? I ended up giving it to my son, and he, because he goes out and does fishing and does some like day hikes and stuff, so I ended up giving it to him. So before I bought me another pack, I just started going out and kind of getting some gear, because I watched this person by the name of Dixie. Everybody knows who Dixie is. And she said that the pack was one of the last things you should actually buy. So I started looking at some other gear. We have one little store here in Fayetteville, West Virginia. It's called Waterstone. I don't know if you've heard of that or not. Waterstone has rock climbing gear. They have hiking, biking. I mean, they have more rock climbing gear than they do hiking gear, but they're getting better. And so I went over there. They had a little discount section. I bought a Nemo quilt, and it was a 20-degree quilt. Bought that. It was other than my pack, it was my very first piece of gear. And I just started putting it together from there. I just started buying stuff. And then as I bought stuff, I would take it out and I would try. Because like I said, I was supposed to have been on a trail 3 years ago, right? So I started going out and staying in Thurman and staying at the New River and Plum Orchard Lake and these places, and going through the gear and figuring out what worked and what didn't. My first tent was a Nemo Aurora 2, which had awesome head height. It was a great tent, plenty of space. But this dang tent weighed like 6 pounds. So it's like, nope, can't have that. So I ended up giving that one to my son as well. And he's like, gee, thanks, Dad. And so I gave him that tent. And ended up getting the Nemo Dragonfly one-person tent that I've had up until here recently. It's worked out great for me. And I had a little problem with the rainfly. That's the only problem with that tent. I had a real problem with the rainfly. I posted a video on that. But in saying that, just going through the gear and finding out what was working, and then having all the background noise, right? I don't know if you experienced that when you first went out. You had a lot of background noise of people telling you should buy this gear or that gear. You needed to be this light, that light. You needed to be this heavy, that heavy. There was so much background noise, and I was buying so much stuff. So before I settled where I'm settled at now on my gear, which I'll get into in just a second, I spent I'm gonna say about $4,000 on gear. Of just going through stuff and trying it. I mean, I saw something on YouTube. I was like, dang it, man, I got to try that. That's for me. I mean, you name it, I've tried it, from camping showers to toilet seats. I mean, all kind of stuff, because I didn't know what you took on a thru hike. I had no idea. And so I started looking, and so I started downsizing it once I started following people like New Hampshire and Fortune and Miranda Goes Outside. Started following all those folks and looking to see what they was taking. So I started downsizing my gear, and I got it down to now where my winter weight is about 15.86 before food and water, and my summer weight is right at 11.23 before food and water. But I got some good gear. I got some good stuff.
You're definitely got me beat, because I think my total winter, but I say with food and water, I'm like at 25, 28 pounds of food and water for my winter year. But so that's not bad. I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. You know, you go out there. So I started the opposite. I wanted a friend of mine. You know, I was in Boy Scouts and I was in the military, and I did some extreme stuff in the military, and so I started off with a military pack, right? Not the Mystery Ranch one, the one before that.
The actual Alice pack.
Not the Alice pack, the one in between.
Oh, okay.
With the fiberglass plastic frame.
Oh, yeah. See, that came after me. I was with the Alice pack. I had the metal frames.
I love the Alice pack. I wish I still had it, but so I got that, and you know, the thing about those packs are designed to carry 150 to 200 pounds at one time. You know, because you're carrying ammunition. You know, you're carrying your whole livelihood on your back there too. You're not doing a thru hike where you can get resupplied every 3 days. But
well, heck,
I agree with you.
Our shovel we used to carry back in the military in our packs weighs more than a lot of these ultralight backpackers' whole pack.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So, but then, you know, for me, I didn't want to spend a ton of money. You know, I can't bring myself to spend $700 on a tent. So I did research, and I actually did what a lot of the European hikers did. Is I went with it's a company called 3FUL. And I use it's called the Lanshan 2, and I actually have the winter version of it and the 3-season version of it. And this year I'm going to go with the Lanshan Pro 4-season version, which is a one-person tent. It's a trekking pole tent, and my tent is just with pegs and everything is just at 2 pounds for my tent.
So I want to give a real quick shout out because like I said, I had the Nemo Dragonfly 2, right? Loved the tent. Had a little bit of hard time with the Rainfly. I set my system up for warmth, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I had 2 subscribers, Lisa and Philip, that was watching my live stream, and I was talking about what my dream tent was. My dream tent was the Goshmere the 2. I've always liked that tent, but every time I went to the store to buy it, it was either out of stock or out of stock online, or like Damascus Outfitters, because that's where I go to buy my gear. It's the closest real gear store we have. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes away, versus REI's 3 hours and 45 minutes away. And so Lisa and Philip, they bought that all on my live stream. They bought and donated me that tent, and it took about 6-7 days. I got it in. First time I ever set a trekking pole tent up was the other day. I put it on the video. I love this tent, and yeah, it's we'll deal with condensation and all that stuff, but I just love the room. I love the tent, and I'm so thankful for the subscribers that donated that, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. Thank you.
I'm gonna share a hiking hack. Okay, so you don't always have to get hiking gear at an outfitter's, right? So one of the things to for your condensation is go to Harbor Freight, and you know they sometimes they give them away if you're a Harbor Freight member, but they're little towels that come in like a 4-pack. You get a blue, a yellow, a green, and an orange. Grab one of those. I carry 2 with me. They're lightweight, so I carry. You'll see a lot of ultralight will cut stuff down. I carry 2 full towels because I been caught in rainstorms so bad that when I packed my tent up, it was wet. When I got to set up, it was wet, and I used one of those cloths to suck up all the moisture. And I use it to wipe the inside of my tent down now before I go put it away. And they cost nothing, and they're probably better than anything you could find, and it's from Harbor Freight.
Yeah, I'll go over and pick him up. As a matter of fact, then I got one little towel that I'm carrying, like you said, but nothing real. But so I'll go over. That's a good deal.
And you, when you're going through the Smokies, you will get filthy, especially in March, right? and those are great to clean up with just a little bit of water, and it'll scrub all the muck off of you too. So, and
So
I keep
has
the other one I keep in my cook pot.
so now we're gonna flip the interview. I got to ask you some questions, being somebody that's been on the trail, right? So I've been doing my research and all this. One thing I don't understand is when you're going through the Smokies. Okay, we got to file for our permits and all that. Do we absolutely have to stay in the shelters? Because I see some people say you have to stay in the shelters. Some people say you can set your tent up around the shelters. I'm more of a stay in my tent guy because I'm not a germaphobe. Don't get me wrong, but I see a lot of people get the dookie shoots, if you know what I mean, because people don't wash their hands, take care of their stuff, and they're staying in shelters, and it spreads quick, right?
So you want the company line, or you want me to tell you what I did?
Let me tell you what. We got time. Let's do both here.
So I started January 1st last year, right? But it's going to be the same way this year because of family stuff. I have to get on and off trails. One reason why I'm starting so early, and plus I love the winter camp and I love the winter hike, right? But when I got to the Smokies, there was enough of a crowd. It wasn't a bubble, but there was some of the early hikers were starting to funnel in by the time I got there too. Plus I got sick a couple times and had to get off. But so I went through the Smokies like beginning of March, and there was enough people there that there was room in the shelters, but they were crowded, and it was younger kids, right? I have trouble sleeping as it is, even with earplugs in, with sleeping in the shelters with them. There's no way I could get in a good night's sleep. So I knew there was a big pack of people, so I went ahead and set up my tent off to the side. The ridge runners usually won't say anything to you anyway, unless they're beeholes. So,
Okay.
and the ones I ran into, I met one ridge runner and it wasn't anywhere near a shelter, and then I met the same ridge runner at the other end of the smoke. So I missed a ridge run. They work in pairs, and I missed one ridge runner somewhere. Probably when I went down to got off on Newfound Gap. But yeah, so if you're there and you're by yourself, I don't like staying in the shelters anyway. But
See,
that's me.
I don't know what it is. It's kind of I'm not a truck driver, but I have the truck driver mentality of I spent all this money on this equipment. I'm going to use it. And the only way as a truck driver you make money is to sleep in your dang truck, right? Don't stay in the hotels and all that other stuff. So, I want to utilize my equipment as much as possible. And like I said, I'm not a germaphobe or anything like that, but I've heard horror stories about rats in the shelters and busting liners, and I've heard about people coming in partying in the middle of the night, making a bunch of noise. And I'm like you, I have a hard time sleeping as it is. So, I just kind of want to do my thing, be in my tent. You know what I mean? So that's a big thing of mine. And then getting that and preparing all that kind of stuff for the Smokies.
Yeah, so the Smokies are not bad, and they're beautiful. I will tell you though, you get to Fontana Dam, and that first climb, you're gonna wonder if it'll ever end.
I was told that yesterday, actually, the same exact story about the same way from a thru hiker I met at a local Tudors here in West Virginia. If you're not from West Virginia, you're not going to know about Tudors, but if you are, you know. And
yeah, now I want to go get a biscuit. Yeah,
yeah,
thanks.
right. Now you want
Appreciate
to marry,
that, Jim.
Now you want to marry me, right, or Marshall. So anyway, he told me the same thing. He was like, that mountain kept going up and up and up and up and up. And he said, just when you thought you had the summit, no, it was false. It went up and up.
Yeah, and I probably know the
forever.
exact place he's talking about too, because you get to this one place and you climb up and you hit this ridge. You're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm at the top," and then you start walking along the ridge, and next thing you know, you're looking up again, and you got to go. It's probably what Shuckstack Fire Tower, and there's a little branch trail, but it just keeps going up the mountain.
But he told me, he said, he gave me a list of some of the hostels that he had stayed at, and he said there has been some stuff that changed. He done history, like I guess early 2000s or something like that. But he had told me different places, stuff. He was like, you definitely want to try to stay at the hostel or try to stay at Fontana Dam. They call it the Hilton. He said, man, you're going to love wanting to have the nice warm shower after that hike. And
yeah, that's true. But to be honest with you, when this year when I get there, I'm not staying at the Montana Hilton. I'm actually going to go to the lodge and spend the night and get rested up before I hit the mountains. But
Yeah,
that's me. I'm an older guy. I'm retired. I've got money in my pockets. And plus I
well,
plan to be there in late January.
so too, and you mentioned that. See, I'm a 100% combat disabled veteran. Okay, I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003, 2004. I was there 14 months. I was there for the shock and awe, the Jessica Lynch saga. I was there for all of that. Okay, and I
And
served.
she lives just like 15 miles from where I am right now.
So I actually went overseas with a unit that's in your backyard. I was part of the 1092nd out of Parkersburg, West Virginia.
That's where I started my military career when I was
Yeah.
when I was 17 years old. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give a shout out to a friend up there. I guess he's a caretaker now. You may know him up there. Where everybody knows him as Flash. His name's Howard Hudson, but the Flash. He's the caretaker of the National Guard Armory up there. Me and him was over at the same time and everything like that. But anyway, in saying that, I was over there with the 1092nd. We was one of the first National Guard units that deployed at that time. Longer story, different time. But anyway, so I get 100% VA disability. So like you, I'm kind of decently okay, but that money's also got to take care of bills back home while I'm out on trail and stuff too. So very closely watching my budget when it comes to hostel stuff. I want to stay above the clouds. I want to stay at the NOC, the Hilton. There's a couple places I want to stay. You know what I mean? Great Dragon Hostel. But for the most part, I didn't spend close to $5,000 total in 3 gear sets to not stay in my dang tent. you know?
Well, that's true. So the Green Dragon, I would definitely stay at the Green Dragon. I highly recommend them. They're great people. They go out of the way to help you and talk to you. I think they're both former school teachers. Around the Bend was just reopening as I passed through, and I missed it by like 24 hours, so I didn't get to stay there. But I'm gonna stop at it on the way this time. The other place that I highly recommend, and it's just because I was their first guest. They took over the hostel last year, and I was their very first guest. Is the Grove Hostel in Franklin, North Carolina. They are great people. They're both through hikers. Bloob, the male half, actually did Sobo this year, and he crushed it. He did some 40-mile days, I think, and he just he's insane, and he's a military vet too. And he got on the trail, and for PTSD, like a lot of our fellow vets go out there for, and he ended up meeting Willow, who is now his life partner and co-owner of the hostel. Yeah. And they're in Franklin, North Carolina, and they're great people. I'm actually going to go down, and they're going to let me park my vehicle in Franklin because I've got a commitment I've got to come back home for. So I'm going to hike, I think, 8 days and do 110 miles in 8 days. Yeah, and they're going to hopefully let me keep my truck there.
That's pretty nice of them. I mean, and you was talking about obligations and giving yourself plenty of time. I have a mother who is very much into stages of dementia. She's 81 years old. If something happens to her, I will come off trail for that and different things. But other than that, there's only 2 ways, man, I'm coming off this trail. It's when I finish it or in a body bag, because I'm obsessed with this thing. And my wife has told me, my kids has told me, my neighbors have told me, my friends have told me, if you don't finish the trail, you're not welcome in Oak Hill no more. We're tired of hearing about it. We'll be dead set on it. But I thought about my brother at one point in time. He was thinking about coming down and following me up through a certain part, like dropping me at Amicalola, and then he'd go stay at Nils Gap. And I got there, he'd say, "Okay, are you okay?" Yeah. Then he'd drive on up to another place and another place until he knew that I was where I was going to be. And I told him, I don't want to do that. Just say goodbye to me at the train station, and I'll see you at the end.
So I got a question for you, right? So how deep down the rabbit hole have you got in planning out your trek? I mean, how far have you looked at the map and said, on day one, I'm going to make it this far, day two, and by, what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. This may shock you, Flory, or whatever. This might also make a guy that's by the name of Sloth might make him proud. He's one of my subscribers on the channel. Past day one at Amicalola, which the 8 point some miles do not count toward the trail for the approach trail.
I recommend personally. This is my people can hate me for it. I recommend just getting a shuttle or catching a ride up to the top of the mountain.
I kind of think that's what I'm going to do is go through the arches, get my picture, do the glam.
You're going to hike a mile that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because you got to backtrack. You have to from the parking area. You have to hike about a mile to the trailhead, and then you got to hike the same way back. But that's better than doing the 8 miles, right?
Yeah. I've thought that. So, but past my first day, this is what I have planned. As of now, unless it changes, is doing the approach trail, and then about 2 to 3 miles, whatever it takes, once it gets to Springer to get to the shelter. After that, I have not a clue.
To be honest with you, I like that idea. I think that's the way. Most people fret about it way too much. Just make sure you have 3.5 days of food, and you'll be good.
I've set myself up. I looked at the calendar, and I said, okay, the average thru hiker takes 5 to 7 months. So I sat down and I done the numbers. I said that's 200 and like so many days, 12, 14 days or whatever, from March the 10th to October 10th. Do I want to be done before October? Yes. Am I going to cry about it if I'm not? No.
Well, let's go back to because I'm looking in the chat there. So JB Not Lost, and I thank you for that. Ramblin' Roots in Bryson City. I met Bookie. I didn't get to stay at her place, but I'm going to stay at her place this year. I met her in right outside the NOC, and she's a really great lady, nice lady. She and I actually hooked up and helped another veteran that was out there hiking with the not so best gear, and I hiked with him for a day and a half before, and then he and I lost touch. But she's definitely a great place to stay too in Bryson City. She'll pick you up at the NOC and drop you back off there too. But yeah. So I like the way you're thinking. Just if you're a beginner hiker and you only plan on covering like 8 miles a day or something like that, you're going to need about 3.5 days worth of food, and that'll get you to Neil's Gap. But
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking on 3.5, 4 days of food. Because at any given time, correct me if I'm wrong, at any given time when you first start the trail, by the map and by what I've looked at and by the videos, people I've talked to, with any given time, you're only a couple days with coming off the trail at any given time to resupply anyway. When you
especially in the Georgia and the southern North Carolina area, you can definitely get off trail fairly easy.
Yeah. So that's what I was looking at. Doing it past day one. I really don't know because I don't want to set myself up for failure in the sense of, oh, you got to walk 8 miles a day, you got to walk 10 miles a day, you got to walk 15 a day. Like, and people are going to hate me for when I say this. Just like you said, you're just going to have to hate. Like the Damascus Marathon, I'm not interested. The 4-state challenge, I'm not interested. It's there's people out there who could do that. I'm 44 years old with injuries from the military. Jumping out of helicopters and eating snakes seemed fine at the time, but now when you get 44, your knees and back hurt.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
So, maybe I'll feel different when I'm there and in the moment, but as of now, I mean, I want to walk with a group of people. I want to find my people and kind of walk if I can, but if not, I'm prepared to go it alone. I do not have a set plan every day. If I'm going to do 8, 10, 12, 15, whatever. This is a very therapeutic experience for me. I have combat PTSD. I'm still going through the grieving process of my sister. I'm hoping somewhere out there I find that person that I used to be, at least a little piece of it. Maybe not the whole thing, but just a little piece of him. And and my therapist tells me all the time, you can't look at it that way. You got to look at the new you. But in saying that, I'm just not interested in knocking out like massive amounts of miles every day until it becomes necessary. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And see, so unlike me, I did. I'm gung ho to make big miles. Plus, I put myself on a time limit for that first 110 miles. But I was feeling so good when I got out of the Smokies that I was doing 18 close to 20-mile days then, and I was passing the young kids, and
Yeah.
I'm 57. We'll be 58 this year on trail, and I was feeling so good, and I ended up hurting myself because I did too many miles too soon and tore my meniscus. So
Yeah. Well, you look at Walk. I think it's Walking with Sam. I don't know if you followed his journey or seen his journey on YouTube. And it seems like in 2025, his story was the one that resonated with people. He came in overweight. He had to give up smoking. He had to give up alcohol. He had to overcome being on medications. There was a lot of things. This was his second attempt. His first attempt, he failed right before Fontana Dam. And I don't believe in failure. I believe it's first attempt in learning. That's just something military taught me. But this year, like, give you an example, he was doing the approach trail, and it's like, what, 8.8 or 8.6 miles, something like that. He got like 5-6 miles up into it, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to set up a tent. I can't make the rest of the journey to Springer today. So he actually set up a tent in a freestanding, wherever on the approach, off the side of the approach trail. Got up the next morning and then finished a Springer, and he approached it a whole different way. So Sam's approach really changed. I have to do all of these miles all at once.
yeah, that's true. And yeah, it's like everybody says, it's hike your own hike. But there's so many people out there with opinions that even though they say hike your own hike, they want to tell you how to.
So when you say your opinions, and like I said, I don't know how much time we got allotted or whatever, but I got to ask your opinion on something. How do you feel about the ATC approving the Yellow Blaze coming out of Damascus this year?
I see why they did it, to be honest with you. And so technically you're not going to be hiking if you're taking the reroute, you're not going to be hiking the AT anyway. And it just depends. It depends if you're a purist or not, right? If you're
Right.
if you're a purist that wants to do a total, complete footpath northbound, so be it.
And see,
Do your own thing.
And I'm glad you said that too, because here's something I'm going to do. It's going to be very controversial to people. I know it is. Once I hit the Shenandoah Valley, I'm going to Aqua Blaze. I want to experience that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And then I'm going to catch a shuttle or whatever and go back and do those miles. You see what I'm saying?
Well, so technically you're going to have a continuous footpath then if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, because that is aqua blazing is an authorized for the ATC.
See, I didn't know that. See, everybody else I've talked to has told me that Aqua Blaze is not authorized. So
no, it is definitely an alternative path to go north. Is from my research anyway.
So if it is, then that's what I'm going to do. There's little things like that, like you said, hike your hike. There's going to be some trails I'm going to come off of that I want to go follow some of the blue blazes, see some of the waterfalls, see some of the different things, different towns. I have never been to New York City. And so being a 9/11 veteran, right, once I get up to New York, I've already arranged it. My wife's got some family out of Jersey, and up and around that area. They're going to take me to the 9/11 memorial.
See, in me, I've been there so many times on business that I hate that town, and I'll be glad to see it from the distance.
So I mean, it's just things like that. There's certain things we'll do, and because I know you posted was going to go over, and not to jump ahead on your conversation or whatever, fears and different things. There's going to be times I will have to come off trail a lot more than some others. So
that's a good segue. I meant to ask that I don't care how long this goes, but
yeah.
What are your fears? I mean, what are the things that you're really worried about? And maybe I can put some of them at ease.
My number one biggest fear, listen, for people to say that they're not worried about going out, I'm not scared of the dark or any of that, okay? I'm not worried. People's like, well, there's bears out there. I'm not worried about bears and snakes. I'm more worried about ticks than any dang thing, okay? But my biggest fear is the whites. is the presidentials. I'm really, that's my biggest worry. And I know that you can do it in one day. I know people can break it down. The weather changes on a dime up there. You get to Madison, Jefferson, Franklin, you got Washington, you got all that up there. That's my biggest area. That's my biggest fear. Past that, I have some little fears, but that's my biggest fear. And it's,
that's probably just because it's a different environment, right? So you're used to the Appalachians here in the South because you live in them, right? So, and up north is a totally different mountain. Well, it's the same mountain range, but totally different kind of environment.
It's it's the environment, different things, but then too, you watch these videos and like this will sound silly. I can go over and I have rappelled off the center of the New River Gorge Bridge, right dead center, right, rappelled off that thing. I have a cousin that jumps off of it every year with a parachute. Okay, I can stand there and be fine endless while all of that. It's 800 and some feet. I'm cool. But when I watch these videos and I see these people up there and the trees look like blades of grass because you're so high up, I'm thinking, oh my God, because I'm a little bit uneasy with heights. So there's that. I'm worried about the weather.
Well, brother, I'll tell you right now, there's places in the Smokies that will get you over that really quick.
Well, now I'm a little bit worried about the Smokies. Thanks, Frank. Anyway.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've got a picture of me, and I'll share it to you on Facebook sometime. But I'm eating lunch, and my feet are dangling, and there's nothing below my feet by 500 feet.
So, that's my biggest fear. Like I said, is the whites. I'm not worried about Katahdin at all. I'm not worried about the Manusalak, or however you pronounce it, the hardest mountain trail. I'm not worried about that. I am a little bit worried about the lemon squeezer because I'm a fat guy. Okay, I'm just saying. It is what it is. By then, I'll probably have lost a bunch of weight. You know what I mean? But, a few of the things just in life that I am scared of, I'm terrified of thunderstorms. And I have been since I was a kid. Now, in saying that, I'm fascinated by them, but I'm terrified of them. But I have been out in them. I've hiked in them. I've made myself hike in them because I wanted to... because on the AT, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
So you just have to be used
to
it.
I was singing an old hymn, Lord, I've had it with thunder, as it was just rolling all around me. To me, it was beautiful.
Yeah. So, it's just little things. But like I said, the whites and then ticks. And then, that's kind of my only fears. I'm not.
So what's some of your little ones? What's some of your little ones then?
So some of my little ones. This may sound silly. I don't want to be the guy that when I'm walking on trail, people's like, "Oh, there's that guy from YouTube." Let's like, what's that movie where they're dead bait or whoever
I
it was?
know you.
Yeah, and they split, and they're just like, let's ditch her. He's like, it's better than my idea. Kill her and steal her Pop-Tarts.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to be that guy that people see and are just like, oh, man, here comes Jim, or whatever. And so that's one of my little fears, not being people wanting to be social or whatever, and stuff like that, because I can be very off-putting. One of my other little fears is I am a combat veteran, and so fireworks is a big thing for me. I am bringing a pair of ear-canceling headphones. They weigh a ton, but when fireworks go off, I put them on. I can watch fireworks. I just can't hear fireworks.
Yeah, to be honest with you, and I know where you're coming from because I used to experience that until I slowly overcame it. But you're not going to run into that situation out there on the trail. Those. The loudest noise you're going to probably hear is somebody coming into a shelter where you're sitting, having lunch or whatever, and throwing their pack down and it echoing off the floorboards or whatever.
So, like that kind of noise don't bother me. It's just the, like I saw a video of a hiker that was up towards New York.
Now there is a section in Georgia that you're going next to a training area or the Rangers, and you may hear some, some blank rounds, but you being a combat veteran, you'll recognize that they're blank rounds.
Yeah, you'll recognize it immediately. So it's just some things like that worry. One of my other fears, like you said, talk about some smaller fears. I can swim like a fish, but I've seen some of these creek crossings and river crossings. Some of these people are out of their dang mind because I know what class 3 and 4 rapids could do to somebody, and you're trusting a piece of 550 cord. So, so little things like that. But other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of fears about it. My one fear, and I'm going to put this in the big category versus little category, is making a stupid mistake and ended up having to come off the trail hurt.
That's definitely a big fear, especially if you're somebody of older age.
Yeah, having to come off the trail hurt. I mean, the VA and stuff's going to take care of me, but just the overall self-disappointment of knowing that I should have done something different.
So what are you going to be using to keep in touch back home? Are you taking like a Zoleo or a Garmin or?
So I got the Garmin InReach Mini 2, and I got the newest iPhone, which has a satellite communication as well. And I actually took the iPhone down to the Greenbrier Valley River Trail, into that area. There's a little place down there. It's called Blue Bend. We do some fishing down there, and there is absolute no signal. So
that's because it's in the National Radio Quiet Zone. Yeah.
Yes. So I actually was able to connect to the satellite and communicate via text with my wife and family back home there to make sure that worked, make sure my Garmin worked. So I'm happy with that. I got the Far Out app and different things, and All Trails app. I got that too. And then, so the new Garmin watches, I don't know if you know this or not, the new Garmin watches that they're coming out with, that's the software patches and stuff, they will in real time, you can set it up to a few numbers where it will send back to somebody exactly where you're at in real time.
No, I wasn't aware of that. I wear a Garmin Instinct Solar 2, so.
And I don't know that the patch is completely out yet. I've seen one video on it. So I'm interested to see how that works. I wear an iWatch regularly, but I wear the Garmin watch when I hike, right? So I'm interested to see if that's actually going to be a thing, because that'd be kind of cool. But the Garmin InReach Mini 2 for communication, I think it's...
And to be honest with you, so a lot of people have that fear. Up until you get to the Smokies, you have cell signal more often than you don't.
So here's something that happened to me that was very interesting. Let me share a short story with you real quick. I'm a barber. Before I got my VA disability, me and my daughter had our own shop. My daughter still has the shop. But anyway, in saying that, there's a gentleman come in and Klein cut his hair and everything. He works for Starlink internet people, Elon Musk guy, okay? They was actually wanting me to carry a transponder in my backpack on the trail as a prototype, and they was providing the stuff, and they was going to sponsor me and all this other stuff because he had set it up to have internet signal all the way through the trail. Here's the problem: the pack they wanted me to carry, and the internet pack was like 32 pounds in itself, and I'm like, no, that ain't happening, So they can find somebody else. Thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah. It's probably mostly battery though too. So
yeah, so so I don't know. Like I said, when we was talking about things come fears, I don't really. Maybe equipment failure, having a massive equipment failure like a tent rip in a storm or something like that. It's like kind of in the back of my mind. But I got duct tape with me and some stuff like that. So that plays in the fears. What I find is people want to be prepared for those fears, but again, let's go back to what's really out there. Is you're never more than usually a day or less and being able to get off trail. So unless you get out in places like the Whites or somewhere out there where or backcountry in West Virginia, right? So even if you have an equipment failure, you're within hikeable distance of where you can get off trail and get help, or call a shuttle service, or especially with a Garmin or Zoleo, they'll be able to meet you at a forest road or tell you where to go. You'll be able to get off trail. So a lot of that crap that you're carrying for the just in case, you really don't need. Which
And
brings me to
I know some people are going to be saying, well, you can't be telling people that. Well, it's the truth, because I did it, and I carried a bunch of crap that I know, and I no longer, it's shucked. I don't carry it anymore.
so
So
which brings me to an interesting point because you mentioned something there, and like on my channel, we do these questions every week to where I ask the subscribers, viewers, hey, what do you want to talk about? And they post. We talk about. Well, this week, I'm hoping that this is the topic they choose. But you mentioned packing your fears. I think that a lot of times, not only do hikers pack our fears, we pack other hikers' fears with us. Does that make sense?
you do. That's
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
You know, we pack other hikers' fears too, and they're just like, well, you got to have this, you got to have that, you got to have it. Like, listen, I'm not trying to. I don't want the ultralight community to be hating on me. I think what they do is amazing. I cannot get my gear down to 9-10 pounds. I just can't. And you know, I cannot. There's some things that they can do that I cannot do. You know, I'm not one of these people that can. I'm not saying pack on my fears, but I was a burn victim. Okay, I blew myself 11 and a half feet in the air. So I was a burn victim. I was in a burn unit in Cabell Huntington Hospital. Awesome people, by the way. And so I had to learn to walk again and all that stuff. So I sleep cold. So in sleeping cold, I had to make sure that I had the right pad for my tent. I had to make sure that I had the right quilt. I had to make sure I had the right everything. All, you know, my fear was sleeping and getting cold. So I packed that. But now that I've field tested it, Wolfie, now that I've field tested, I've realized I don't need all that stuff. I just need simplicity. I need my quilt. I need my pad. Maybe a tent liner, because I'm going to have my layers and everything, and you're going to be fine. You know, you're going to be fine. My system right now, I've got it down to where I've slept outside with it being 22 degrees and been comfortable. So I think it's pretty good.
And it's so again, you know, along that lines, you know, people like me, my sleeping bag I'm carrying is a down sleeping bag, but it's a 30 degree. I'm starting January 1st, but guess I'm also carrying a quilt, a 30 degree quilt. Well, if you stack the two 30 degree quilts together, or in the sleeping bag 30, I can go down to -10. It's just knowing what's out there, right? And having the knowledge that you can do that. You know, most people would say, I need, you know, this $800 down sleeping bag that's good down to, you know, 0 degrees Celsius or 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's what I need. But you know, there's other ways to do it, and you know, you don't have to spend money on your fears either if you do the right research.
You don't, and there's some good budget gear out there if you're willing to try.
Yes, there is. There is.
There's a company called Natural Hike. I've found
Nature
a lot
Hike.
of their gear.
Yeah.
Nature Hike, yeah. I said natural. Nature Hike.
I got their. That's my summer backpack back there. Is actually a Nature Hike 60 liter. Is it?
Yeah, I found that Nature Hike makes some good gear. They're on Amazon. It's affordable, and different things. Thermarest makes some good gear that can be semi-affordable, and different things. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna put something out there, and I'm not trying to down any company or anything, but everything that I've ever had that's been Black Diamond, I've gotten rid of it because it's been trash. It did not work for me. It failed on me. It just been whatever. So that's when I started looking at budget gear and different things too. I started looking at different companies, and I love Garage Grown Gear. Right? I don't know if you've been to their website or not. They got a lot of things there. But you know, you don't have to, like you said, purchase your fears either, as long with packing your fears. And I think people do it. You know, just like one of the things you hear. There was a story. I don't know if you've seen it on my post or not, or one of my videos. Somebody was talking about it. There's this hiker that claimed that he walked the PCT and the AT and only spent about $500 on food the whole time because he just kept eating out hiker boxes. He said because there was so much food. And I think what it is, because you hear it all the time, people, and I don't know if his story's true or not, I don't know if it's just true. I'm just saying, you hear people say all the time, new hikers, they bring too much food. You know, they pack too much food. So,
that's true.
So, you know, I don't know. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I'm trying not to pack my fears and different things like that, and go from there. And going into it, you know, just is what I've spent all I can spend on gear right now. My budget is gone.
So, so, so I guarantee you, you'll probably once you get into Neil's Gap, you'll probably spend at least $100 on gear. I guarantee.
Well, so funny story about Neil's Gap. This is a funny story. I was sharing this with a thru hiker yesterday. So you know how they got the tree there, and everybody throws their shoes in the trees and stuff because they don't make it or whatever. So they say that like 20% is what actually stop and quit their hike right there. It's like what 30 some miles in. So here's my plan for Neil's Gap. I'm gonna blow past it. I'm not even letting the bad mojo hit me. I'm just gonna blow past it. I don't want a chance to catch the mojo of seeing the shoes in the trees.
So, I don't recommend that because it is one of the few places that you'll get a chance to recharge your battery and your phone and stuff like that. So you definitely have to stop there at least for an hour or so to recharge and maybe grab a snack. But
yeah, well, somebody said that they have like for first whatever few hikers come through, they have pizza and a drink they give for free up until it's whatever, and then.
Not that I'm aware of. I know they've got pizzas that they'll make for you, but yeah.
Yeah, so so like I said, I don't know. I just know somebody posted it on my page or whatever, and I'm like, well, once again, I plan on trying to blow through there because I just don't. It's just like I don't want the bad mojo. I'm not a karma type of guy, but I just But
and to be honest with you, is Neil's Gap. If well, maybe not for you, but for me. It's a time suck, right? So I'm gonna have to average 14 miles a day to make it where I want to make it by the time I need to get there. So, stopping for an hour, that's 3 miles for me. Yeah. So but I'm just bite the bullet.
So once again, let's flip the interview here real quick. I got a question for you because you're the experienced guy. I'm the guy starting out.
Mm-hmm.
How on average in a month, how many zeros would you say you take?
Well, so I don't know if you ever heard of him, but last year I hiked with Subman, and Subman, he's a 2-time thru hiker, right? He's hiked it twice. He hiked it once by himself, and then once with his now wife when they got together. So, and he starts January 1st every year and goes as far north until the urge no longer hits him to hike. But he loves his hostels. so and I hiked with him at the beginning of last year's, but zero wise, I would go out for eight or 9 days at a time, but then again I came off trail and came home for a week and then went back or something like that. So it you can do it without actually not taking any zeros. But it'll catch up to you. You'll have to do chores and laundry and batteries and resupply, and it adds up. So I'm a big fan of doing Neros, right? I would blow in, get something done, and hike out the next day. But that's the way I do it.
See, that's the way I thought about doing it too, because if I was right, and like I said, I got my little book here, and I've been doing my research and writing everything down. The average thru hiker takes 30 plus days of zeros off a thru hike. The average thru hike, that's a month. That's a whole month of time. In my mind, to them, hey, kudos, if that's what you got to do. In my mind, I'm like, that's a whole extra month that I've just blown. So I'm like you, I'm counting towards more Neros than zeros. And, I understand with the heat bubble. Hey, I was in Iraq. Okay, 7:30 in the morning, it's 135 degrees. That's a damn good, excuse my language, damn good day. Okay? But it's saying that, and you're going to have the heat bubble, you're going to have cold, you're going to have thunderstorms, you're going to have to come off trail for severe thunderstorms, stuff like that. I understand. But for the most part, even if it's only a few miles a day, I'm going to try to get a few miles a day in. Because, like I said, I'm not worried about going out. Like I know, like you said, you're doing the you got to do about 14 miles a day thing. See, I don't want that in my head to where I'm like, okay, well, I got to do 14, or I got to do 18 this day, or I got to do 26 this day. I want to go out there and be like, okay, you know what, Jim? You've done 10 miles today. That's 10 more than you've done this time last year, or even yesterday. So you've done good for yourself today. Set your tent up, have your little social, whatever, and get up the next day. And so what? So what if tomorrow I only walk 7 miles? You know what? It is what it is. When I get further up trail, if I want to, like you said, there's some place you said you was coming out and smoking. You done 20 something a day? That seems to be the quid pro quo. People do that, and so I'm sure I'll be right there with you. I'm sure I'll be able to do that by then. But I just don't want that. I just don't want the whole camaraderie of you have to hit this many miles a day. I understand.
Oh, I'm with you. And I don't recommend it to anybody to do it. But
I understand Katahdin closes sometime in October. You know what I mean? But here's my thought on that. If I get there and it's closed, guess what? Jesus didn't want me there.
Well, you don't have, you have to make the decision on the trail. You don't have to be a purist. I mean,
yeah.
You can bounce up, make sure you get Katahdin and head south. And since the whites is your big fear, I recommend that you don't wait until, the shoulder season between summer and fall to try that. I would want to try to do those in the summer months when the weather's good.
So one of the things, I know, because like I said, we've been on this for a while, but one of the other things I'm looking at doing, and I've thought about doing, is going to Harper's Ferry and doing the flip-flop, right? Going to Harper's Ferry, then catching a plane train, going to Maine, doing that, and then coming back and ending at Harper's Ferry, because I have people here in West by God that can't make it to Maine when I finish, that can make it to Harper's Ferry. And so I've really thought about that and letting that be my end point. But then the second part of me is like, no, I want that climactic finish. I want that.
Yeah, I don't blame you there either.
Emotional finish of just touching that sign at Katana.
So that's one of the reasons why after I healed up, that I didn't go back to trail this year, right? Is because to me, I wanted to do it north to south and have that moment at Katahdin.
Yep.
And
it's just that special little moment on top. And I don't know, like I said, I know this has went quite a while, but there was a thru hiker I was watching. I forget her name. I was catching bits and pieces of her. She was a young lady. They got up there, and like Baxter State Park sometimes takes like 5-6 hours. They got up and back in like 4 hours.
Yeah, it's not that far. It's not that far of a hike.
I was like, man, you two ladies were kicking it. It's like went up, seen the sign. Okay, turn around, come back after all the miles. I want that moment of wow, look at what we did.
So Jim, let's go ahead and bring this to a close. We've been on here for a while, and I know my wife wants to talk to me. So.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If you don't mind, I wanted to real quick. Being we're bringing it to close, I wanted to just give 3 shout-outs real quick, if you don't mind.
Let me give you the spotlight. Go ahead.
For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of people and stuff I'm following, and subscribers. Follow Tent Life Crisis. Go check that guy out. He's walking the 2026 thru hike. Lady L, where I call her Laura. Her name's Laura Evelyn Ashley. Check her page out. But definitely check out Tent Life Crisis and Eminem on the Trail and Sloth and stuff this year as well, okay? So that's my shout-outs. There you go.
Yeah, so I definitely, Laura Evelyn Ashley, I followed her in her first attempt and actually watched some of the mistakes that she made and gave her some advice that was before I did the AT, just from general hiking. So this is some of the mistakes that any hiker makes when they're first starting, right?
Yep.
And my philosophy is the AT should not be your first long-distance backpacking experience. You should be able to backpack 3 or 4 days on your own before you ever go try to do the AT, or else you run into the same thing. But she had gotten out in the bitter cold in one of her shakedown hikes, and she slept in her rain gear to keep warm. And I wrote to her, and she and I actually had a conversation about it. I'm like, look, you don't want to do that. It keeps moisture close to your skin. Your clothes get damp, and it might feel good at first, but you're going to get colder in the night as you go. And that's why it happened to you that way. So, that's a good example of practical experience where one hiker can help out another. But I'm going to be following her again this year because I'm really rooting for her. I want her to see her make it all.
Yeah, I want to see her make it all the way too, and I'm looking forward to meeting you and all these other people in Damascus at Trail Days, hopefully, and everything. And I want to thank you for giving me the time here on the camera and to come on here and talk. I appreciate this. It means a lot. It really does.
Yeah. So Jim, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure you and I will stay in touch. But we're gonna call it quits for now, and I'm gonna go back to my one shot and close out here. But so I'd like to thank Jim for joining us. I don't have his YouTube channel in the description, but I will put it there, and it'll be there after. But I'll put him back to the one shot there. It's youtube.com at Jim takes take a hike dash with Jim. So
Take a hike. Take a hike.
Take a hike. So please go subscribe to his YouTube channel. And with that being said, this is Wolfie, and like I always say, TTFN, ta for now.